Hi everyone, Heather here with PersephoneReturns.com, and today I'm bringing you the full moon and Aries forecast for October 5th, 2017. And this full moon is a very, very intense full moon. There's a lot of energy and a lot of intensity. And it's been felt, it's been felt since the beginning of the week, especially if you're somebody who's an Aries sun, moon, or rising, if you're a Libra, Capricorn, Cancer, all of these cardinal signs are going to be feeling this energy a lot more intensely than a lot of the other signs will. And so, we're going to get into this, and we're going to break it down by sign. So if you can figure out your rising sign, that's the most accurate. And the best way to do that is to, first off, you need to have an accurate birth time. But if you go to astro.com, you can, get your chart, look at your rising sign. Your sun sign is also going to be very accurate. And you can also look for your moon sign too. That's going to be a little bit more internalized. But, since we're talking about the moon, the full moon, and the lunar cycles, it might be worthwhile to listen for all three. And so basically what I'm going to do is, so just to backtrack, for those of you who are new to my channel, I'm an astrologer. I do daily astrology videos. And, normally I don't go through by sign and do things so detailed like this. So this is going to be a little bit longer of a video, and that's just because we're having the full moon, and this is a really sort of important, sort of intense culmination point that we're coming into. So I want to make sure that, we're able to dive deep and that you're able to get the information about what's about to come up. And, so if you want to book a reading with me, you can do so at the link below in the description of the video. I do, 30, 60, 90-minute astrology readings, and I also provide single question readings. So if you have a really specific question, I can give you a one-on-one video, pre-recorded 20 minutes or less. Well, it'll be very concise and very focused on whatever question you might have. And right now is a really important time, if you haven't had a reading in a while, to get an astrology reading, because we're going through a point of a lot of shift and a lot of change and a lot of transition, because Jupiter is going to be moving into Scorpio, and this is a really powerful time of growth and good fortune and new developments in different areas of our lives. And so getting a reading right now can help you to see where you're going to benefit from this Jupiter transit in the future. We also have Saturn moving into Capricorn in December, and that's going to be a whole new ballgame. This is a 2.5-year transit of Saturn. We're moving out of Sagittarius into Capricorn. And so, it's going to be affecting probably everybody in some way, shape, or form in terms of your personal planets and the placement in your chart. So you can see where you're going to have a little bit more limitation, restriction, where things might move a little slowly for you, where you need to take on new responsibilities. And where you really need to put in a lot of hard work and a lot of effort to sort of benefit for the next 28 years of your future for this Saturn cycle. So there's a lot going on here. So just, as a side note, so if you haven't already gotten a reading from me or somebody else, I think this would be actually a really great time to do so, because there's a lot of change coming up. But anyway, so going back to the full moon in Aries. So this is actually a really intense full moon. It could be a little bit difficult for a lot of people, especially on an emotional and an internal level. Anytime you have the moon in Aries, our emotions are very fired up, very intense. We're very impulsive in our emotions. We're very impulsive in our emotional expression. So we can be expressing our emotions way more intensely, way more impulsively. A lot of angry and aggressive emotions can come out a lot more so when the moon is in Aries, and that's just kind of in general, but especially with the full moon, the moon is highlighted, it's huge, it's big in the sky. It's illuminating where we've come out of balance in terms of, overthinking things, indecisiveness, maybe placing too much emphasis on the other and not on our own self-interest, our own self-importance, things that we really want to do in the world, and that can restrict our willpower. And so this is us coming back into our own, coming back into focusing on ourselves and what we need and what we want and what we desire and what we want to move forward with and take action on. And so this is sort of a culmination point of the lunar cycle that began with the new moon in actually in Virgo. And it's interesting. So every year or so, it goes through this several month period where not usually, but so either the new moon will be in one sign and then the full moon will be in the opposite sign, which would be like Libra would be the new moon and then the full moon would be in Aries, or we come into these cycles where it's a little bit off. So the new moon is actually in Virgo, and then the full moon is in Aries, which is actually the sign that would be more of like an inconjunct aspect. So there's sort of a little bit of discord with this culmination point. It's not like we're integrating the opposite. It's not like we're integrating the energy of these two oppositions in the same way that we normally would be. We still are, because it is an opposition, right? It's an opposition between the sun and the moon, but there's a little bit of discord between what we started with and what we're moving into this culmination point. And so whatever we started and initiated and seeded 2 weeks ago at the new moon in Virgo, the culmination point is bringing something a little bit different, where maybe we're going a little too hard, a little too fast. Maybe we're overthinking things, over planning things, focusing too much on the details, focusing too much on showing up in service of other people. And now we're coming into this culmination point where we need to start taking action. Stop thinking, stop planning, stop organizing, just do, take action. And this moon is going to require us to take a lot of action. And so I'm going to actually share my screen sort of like I would in a reading, because I want to show you guys this chart, and it'll be helpful because then I could see also what's going on. Okay. So I'm sharing my screen, so you should see this chart right here, and you should also still see me. And so this is the chart for the full moon, and this is from the perspective of where I am in Sedona, Arizona, using whole house signs. So, the placements in the houses in terms of this chart don't really have a lot of, they don't matter that much unless maybe you're in Sedona. But so when we're looking at this full moon, there's a lot going on here. It's very intense, not just because it's a full moon in Aries and there's a lot of intensity there. It's because of the aspects that it's making. So as you can see, there's a lot going on here. So we have the full moon in a T-square with Pluto right here in Capricorn. We also have the sun in conjunction with Mercury, which is another thing that's going on here that's very intense. We also have this exact conjunction between Venus and Mars, which happens on the same day as the full moon. We also have Mercury and the sun coming into an inconjunct. The inconjunct to Neptune is actually exact in the morning of the full moon. So that'll be, if you're watching this on Wednesday, it'll be early Thursday morning that it comes exact. And then late in the morning is when this full moon happens. And this is, again, Pacific time. This is Mountain Standard Time. This is from the perspective of Sedona. So the times might be a little off depending on where you live. And what's interesting is that this T-square is being formed to Pluto, but there's also a trine between this Mars, Venus conjunction, and Pluto. And so there's a lot of energy around Pluto right here. And Pluto represents change. It represents transformation. It represents secrets being revealed, things that are hidden below the surface coming out into the light of day. It represents our deep-seated fears, our deep-seated psychological issues. It reveals to us the truth and the core of the issues at hand. And so with this T-square here between the sun and the moon and Pluto, it indicates that there's something here that we're not looking at. There's something here that we're not examining. There's something that's below the surface that's blocking us or challenging us from reaching that culmination point where we can take the action that we need to take, where we can go out in the world and act on our intuition, act on the things that we want to do. So there's some sort of necessary transformation, some sort of alchemy that needs to happen in terms of our deep-seated fears, our deep-seated issues, the things that are hidden below the surface, deep psychological patterns and things that are below our level of awareness on a normal day-to-day basis are going to be coming up right now. And that could also be secrets that are being revealed from the outside. So somebody might reveal something to you, or they might reveal their true nature to you in some sort of way. And that can cause a little bit of disruption. And, it's a very intense energy when we have this T-square to Pluto here. We also have Mercury in conjunction with the sun, which indicates that a lot of us are going to be overthinking things. Anytime you have Mercury in conjunction with the sun, it usually indicates overthinking, overanalyzing. It can indicate anxiety, especially, with all this Mars energy, all of this aggressive energy, all of this Pluto energy. Our fears can come out. We can feel really anxious, and this can hold us back from actually being decisive and doing what we need to do out in the world to reach that culmination point again. So there's a lot of blockages to this full moon energy. The full moon always represents some sort of culmination point of an energy that was seeded a couple of weeks ago. And even if you go back as far as 6 months, because there's something going on in terms of that as well with lunar cycles. So anyway, this is sort of a culmination point of something that was seeded, and there's a blockage here. There's a lot of blockages here, and one of that is our own thoughts, our own minds are getting in the way, and it's because we're spending way too much time weighing out the options as opposed to making a decision and just moving forward with something. And that shows up in a couple different ways. Also because we have Mars in conjunction with Venus, which is taking action but doing it in partnership, weighing out the options, making sure that we're in harmony and in flow, and that we're doing things in a way that's very fair and very balanced, and that we're analyzing and doing things that are grounded and rooted in reality, right? Because that's Venus and Mars in Virgo. Virgo represents practical reality. It represents organization. It represents, again, the analytical mind. So it's taking action. It's taking new action in relationships, maybe starting up a new relationship, but really we have to be grounded in reality. We have to look at things in a way that's very realistic right now, which is hard to do because we have Neptune, which since the beginning of the week has been starting to come into this inconjunct, but really it comes exact tomorrow with the sun, or the sun comes into the inconjunct. Obviously Neptune moves very slowly. And so, especially with Mercury involved, this indicates deception. This indicates illusion. This indicates an inability to see things clearly. And we can see this on a global level right now, right? We just had a very, traumatic, horrible event that happened with this mass shooting that happened in Las Vegas in the United States. And everybody right now on the internet is all like, well, this official story that they're giving us doesn't make any sense. Is there a lie? Is there a deception? Is there an illusion that's being sort of portrayed through the media and through this official story? So people are really, on a global scale and on a general sort of broad level, people are sort of falling prey to this illusion and this delusion and this fogginess and uncertainty because we're not clear, we're not sure what's really going on. And this translates on an individual level as well. So you might not really be sure what action to take, and that can prevent you, again, from reaching this culmination point, because this is all happening on the opposite end of the spectrum. So this is happening where the sun is as opposed to where the moon is. The moon is shining light on all these things. So it's shining light on the deception, the delusion, the inconsistencies, the fogginess, the confusion, the things that are preventing us from accurately assessing the situation and moving forward decisively. And so there's a lot that is being weighed out right now, and there's a lot that's sort of unclear and uncertain that we need to sort of push through and move through, and we need to use our cognitive abilities, our analytical mind in order to do that. And there's also a tendency here to only see what we want to see. And so putting on those rose-colored glasses where things are kind of foggy because we only want to see things through the lens of compassion and love. So we want to see the best in everyone and everything in our lives right now. We want to see the best possible outcome for whatever situations are unfolding in our lives and for whatever it is that we're trying to move forward into. I mean, we just had this major period of change and transition and turbulence with, the eclipse season, which affected us all. If not in an overt, very crazy physical way, at least on an energetic level, it was a very unsettled energy, and we're still dealing with the aftermath of that right now. And we will be for a very long time. This was a very potent and very powerful eclipse. And just as a side note, it was the most watched eclipse in human history. And, if you go back to ancient astrology and sort of different interpretations of the eclipses throughout different cultures and different traditions, there's a lot surrounding this idea that you're not supposed to look at the eclipse because it's bad juju, it's bad vibes, it's bad luck. You're not really supposed to do that. You're supposed to sort of honor the eclipse as a time to go inward. It's a time for prayer. It's a time for, you sort of bow down to nature, right? You bow down to the glory of nature and the cosmos and, all of these different things. And people were not doing that, obviously. So I almost feel like that amplifies the eclipse energy, which the eclipse energy in general is very turbulent. It's very chaotic. It brings a lot of change, transition, very fated, very karmic circumstances, and it's upheaval on a global scale. And I think our collective energy might have pushed that one a little bit farther than it would have otherwise gone. But anyway, that's beside the point. We're talking about this full moon. So this full moon is the first full moon since that lunar cycle with the eclipse. Even though it seems like it was a while away, it was, still pretty recent. That new moon that happened in Virgo was the first new moon outside of eclipse season. This is the first full moon outside of eclipse season, so a lot of that energy is still fresh. So this is us taking our plans, taking everything that we've sort of gathered and organized and reorganized and putting it into action, putting it out into the world and starting to see the culmination, the results of the actions that we're putting in. And we're seeing where it's working, we're seeing where it's not working, and we're seeing where we have these psychological blockages based on fear, especially based on psychological deep issues that we are not dealing with that we need to deal with. So I'm going to go through and talk about this by sign. Let's see here. So I'm going to start with Aries and Aries rising. So you want to check for your rising sign first because that's going to be the most accurate. Your sun sign secondary, and then you can also listen for your moon sign. All of these are going to have a different variation of what you're dealing with right now. And again, this doesn't take into account all of your personal planets and all the personal points in your chart. So this is a very general reading for all of the 12 zodiac signs. If you want a more nuanced, more detailed reading, even if it's just one that's focused on this full moon, you can always contact me. Again, the information is below. I'm always happy to do readings for people, whatever it is that you guys want to know about. But so this is a general reading for Aries and Aries rising. And so for Aries rising people, this full moon is actually going to be in your first house. And so the first house is the house of you, right? So you're kind of like in the spotlight right now. It's a culmination point of something that you seeded. And so there's a push and pull here. There's a need to integrate the need for your own self-interest, your own self-expression, and the need to sort of be in relationship and to account for your relationships, because the sun right now is transiting your seventh house, right? It's in Libra. So you're focusing right now on relationships, on developing new relationships, on finding balance and completion through relationships. And so you need to be able to maintain that harmony and that balance, and to still think about and focus on your relationships, your contracts. And that's not just romantic relationships. This is any sort of long-term close partnership, friendship, anything like that. But you also need to start integrating a focus on yourself again, focusing on what you want and what you need. And you're an Aries, so that's it usually comes kind of easy for you when you have a lot of Aries energy, right? Because Aries is I am, it's focused on me. What am I doing? Who am I? What am I putting out into the world? It's very sort of, focused on the self. And so this is a time to sort of integrate that energy back into your life, where you're focusing on your own needs, your own self-expression, your own self-interest. And there's a blockage here involving some deep-seated fears or some deep-seated issues in your 10th house, which indicates career and public reputation. So looking at what are you afraid of in terms of putting yourself out into the world, putting your energy out into the world. Is there something in your career that's very intense that needs to be transformed into something more beautiful? Where do you need to become more empowered in your career and your public reputation? Where do you need to do something new in terms of your career situation? There's some sort of blockage there that needs to be looked at that's preventing you from focusing on your own self-interest and from developing your relationships too, because this is going on both ends. And so overall, there's a need to integrate the energy of like your relationships, your own self-interest, and also moving through these blockages in terms of your career and your public reputation. There's also some sort of deception or delusion that's coming from the 12th house area. So this is, sort of dreams or like spiritual energy. These are sort of things that are going on behind the veil, behind the scenes, where it's very foggy, very unclear, very uncertain. That's causing you to have some sort of confusion or delusion in your relationships. So not being able to see what's going on in your relationships as clearly as you might, not being able to analyze and interpret it, falling prey to deception in your relationships. Something could be coming in terms of like hidden enemies. So maybe somebody behind the scenes is doing something to deceive you or to cause you to feel confused or uncertain in your relationships. Or maybe you just have those rose-colored glasses on and you want to see your partnerships for, the beauty and the love and the compassion, which is all part of it. But that negates this sort of very realistic viewpoint where you can see both sides, where you can see the negative, where you can analyze both sides, which normally you can do having a Libra on the descendant. But right now it's a little bit less clear. The other thing that I would want to sort of just really quickly talk about is that Mars-Venus conjunction. I keep saying Mercury for some reason. the Mars-Venus conjunction is happening in your 6th house, and that just indicates a new beginning in terms of creative self-expression, some sort of project, maybe a project that you're doing in partnership with someone, maybe a project that's very creative. Maybe it's a project working on your health and coming back into balance for your health and doing a new workout routine or some sort of a sort of physical activity that's very creative, like dance or yoga, or doing something with the body that is expressive. But there's some sort of new beginning happening in your 6th house in terms of your work and the day-to-day routines and activities that you carry out in your life. And so that's going on as well. That's something that's going to be mostly positive. It can just feel a little intense, like there's an intense need to start taking some sort of new action in your life. Excuse me. Okay. So Taurus and Taurus rising. So for you guys, this full moon is actually happening in your 12th house. So this is causing you to sort of need to integrate self-care, integrate sort of going inward. This is an energy that causes you to need to take a break. You need to take time out. You need to go within. You need to spend time in solitude, seeking solitude, because a lot of the focus has been on your work and creating better balance in your work life and your work situation. And so now it's time to sort of move into the opposite end. So take time for self-care, take time for reflection, take time to go inward. And, with Mercury involved, with the sun, you might be overthinking things. You might be overanalyzing things. There might be a decision that you need to make in terms of your day-to-day work life or your health routines. And you've been working so hard and focusing so hard on these areas that you might not be able to see things clearly right now. You might be weighing out too many options, and you really need to sort of go inward, spend time in solitude, maybe go on a retreat, spend time in meditation, even looking at your dreams. Your dreams could be much more vivid right now, much more telling. So spending time focusing on dream work, things like that can help you in your decision-making process. There's also the potential for deception, fogginess, illusion, and confusion coming from the house that indicates your social networks, your friends. So maybe your friends are confusing you or causing you to not be able to see things clearly in terms of your health or your work situation. Maybe you're asking for their opinions and it's just making things worse and making things more confusing. But there's something there in the area of the 4th house where you're over idealizing or over emphasizing like your relationships with your friends or your friends' opinions, or maybe you're just not able to see your friends in that situation very clearly right now. Maybe someone's deceiving you. Maybe you're overly idealistic, have the rose-colored glasses on where you can't see your friendships quite as clearly as you need to. And so just be aware of that as well. It's, you really need to be discerning, especially in terms of who you're surrounding yourself with at this time, because it can make things more difficult. And then the blockage here is actually in your 9th house. And so there's some sort of deep-seated fear or some sort of psychological issue going on in the house that has to do with your, where you find meaning and purpose. It's expansion, it's philosophy, it's religion, it's spirituality, it's travel and adventure. So maybe there's something that's preventing you from going on the adventure that you want to go on because you feel afraid or you feel like you're not empowered to be able to do that and to have the freedom to take advantage of opportunities as they come about. So so moving through that blockage and transforming it and becoming more empowered in that area of the 9th house, creating your own way of deciphering the world, philosophizing, finding meaning and purpose in the world, that's going to be really important for you right now as well. Okay, so for Gemini and Gemini rising, and excuse me, I need another drink of this water real quick. This tea, I mean. So Gemini and Gemini rising people. So this is actually going to be happening in your 10th house of career and is that right? No, this is happening in your 11th house. So this is your 11th house of friends and social networks. So, maybe you've been spending too much time with your husband or your boyfriend or your kids. You've been spending time focusing on your own self-interest or your creative self-expression. Maybe you own a business or you're an entrepreneur and you've been focusing really hard on your business and creating, what you want to create in that way, because the 5th house, which is where the sun and Mercury are right now, is the house of creative self-expression. And it's the house of entrepreneurs. It's the house of children. So it's focusing on fun. It's focusing on the things that you want to do because you enjoy doing them. And now it's time to sort of shift the focus on your social networks, on your friends, and on sort of focusing on the group as opposed to just focusing on yourself and your own heart and what you want. It's more focusing on going out. Maybe you're going to go out this weekend or, later this week, spend time with your friends, surround yourself with people. That's going to be something that's going to be very helpful to you, especially if you're having trouble making decisions or you're having any issues in the area of the fifth house of like kids and self-expression. There is some fogginess and confusion coming from your 10th house. And so just be aware that someone might be deceiving you in terms of, maybe a boss or some sort of authority figure in your life, or you might not be able to see things clearly because you're focused too much on your career and the big long-term goals and your public reputation. And that's sort of preventing you from expressing yourself creatively in the way that you might want to. The other thing that's going on is Pluto is actually going to be in your 8th house. So there's some sort of really deep fear, really deep issue. It could involve, death. It could involve sexuality. It could involve other people's money, inheritance, joint finances, debt, anything along those lines. But there's something that's that you feel afraid of that's preventing you from enjoying yourself. So the 8th house is the house of your fears. It's deep psychological issues. The 11th and the 5th house have to do with what you do for your own creative self-expression, your hobbies, your interests, what you do for an enjoyment, but also your friends and your social networks. So going out and being with your friends. So something here is preventing you from feeling like you can do that fully. And so you really need to take a look at, if you have debts that are unresolved, if you have any fears or any issues that are coming up right now that are preventing you from enjoying yourself. Because really this could be a really enjoyable full moon for you because of the houses that it's in. So that's Gemini. Cancer and Cancer rising. So for you, this is in your 10th house. And so, this is all about career, public reputation. What are you doing out in the world? What are you working on? How are other people seeing you? How are you as in terms of like a position of authority, or how are you relating to the authority figures in your life? You've been focusing a lot on 4th house stuff, which is like the home and family and getting your house in order, providing better balance in terms of your home situation. And, now's the time to really focus more on career, to shift your focus, to go back out into the world, to focus on your public reputation. You might be recognized for something that you've done or the hard work that you've put in. Any blockages that come up are coming from, let's see here, the area of the 7th house, so your relationships. So there could be something involving, a relationship, a long-term partnership that's sort of preventing you from moving into the career, the public reputation, the work life that you want to move into. You might have some really big goals, some really big plans in terms of your career that you're not able to fully focus on and fully see through because first off, you're confused about what's going on in your home and family situation. There's a lot, up for review there. There's a lot up for, there's a lot of decisions being made in that area. And so you're focusing a lot on that. And there's also some sort of blockage coming from the 7th house. So this could be a relationship, fears about relationships, fears about letting go of a relationship that really is not in alignment with what you need right now. Also letting go of a contract or something along those lines. There's something that needs to be purged, let go of, or transformed. So you might be cutting ties with some sort of like someone who's close to you in your life, a friend, a partner, a business partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, something along those lines. Or you just might be letting go of a situation and becoming more empowered in your relationships because really this is about power. So looking at where have you let go of your power in your closest relationships and how is that preventing you from achieving your goals and from being out there in the world and from, creating this balance between your home life and your family situation and still, taking into account your relationships and what you need and what you want, what you desire. So there's a lot of stuff going on right now with this full moon, you guys. Okay. So we got Leo and Leo rising. So this is actually happening in your 9th house. And this is going to be sort of, especially if you have your sun, moon, or ascendant around 12 degrees in the sign of Leo. This is going to be trining your sun, moon, ascendant. So this could be really, really good and really powerful for you in a lot of different ways. But this is going to be in your 9th house. So this is about adventure, travel, seeking deeper meaning and purpose in your life. You've probably been focusing a lot on the day-to-day, the bureaucracy, day-to-day communications. There's probably been a lot of energy surrounding communication, a lot of emails, a lot of text messages, a lot of, people reaching out to you, a lot of action in your community, in your neighborhood, in your immediate, environment, maybe, disputes with siblings or extended family, things like that might have come up in the, within the past few days. And so this is highlighting the need to really get away, do something that's going to expand your mind, broaden your horizons, do something that's more adventurous, more fun, more exciting. And so that's going to be, a little bit about what you're focusing on. And then any blockages are coming from your sixth house. So, there's something that maybe you're fearful of in terms of your health, in terms of your daily routines. Maybe you need to change your routines. Maybe your work life is not working for you. And, if you're a Leo or a Leo rising, this could be a time period, especially for Leo rising, where there's some sort of transformation going on in terms of your sixth house of career and or of work. So your daily work routines are not working out for you. Your health routines are not working out for you. There's something that needs to be looked at, examined, and transformed. And it's providing a blockage from really being able to go out there, to expand, to have fun, to have adventures, to travel, to investigate different philosophies, different ways of finding meaning in life, and it's preventing you from communicating effectively as well. So this is something that really warrants examination and transformation. It needs to be pulled up to the surface. Also, something like with secrets being revealed in terms of like your coworkers, there could be some sort of really sort of intense issue with your coworkers that could come up right now as well. So that's just something to be aware of. Okay, so let's see. Virgo and Virgo rising. So this full moon is actually going to be in your 8th house. So this is really shining light on your fears, your insecurities, your joint finances. If you have any debt right now is a time that you really need to look at that. You need to examine that. You need to look at where you're giving your power away to other people, because this is a time when you can really become empowered, when you can look at these things, when you can deal with these issues that are a little bit more difficult and a little bit scary on in a normal circumstance. And you can really transform that right now. And so there's been a lot of energy around your finances, about, working hard, making plans for the future, creating wealth for yourself, because the Sun and Mercury have been transiting your 2nd house. And so this is a lot about resources, a lot about finances, a lot about making plans for your financial future. And right now it's time to really look at the opposite end of the spectrum. Okay, like I'm working really hard, I'm doing all these things, but what's going on with my partner's finances? What's going on with this debt that I have? What's going on with, whatever this issue is that I'm afraid of, that I've been sort of not really examining, not really looking at in my 8th house. And so, the 8th house also has to do with like sex and sexuality. This could be a very sensual, very sexual, very passionate full moon for you. And especially because Pluto, where the blockages is coming from, is actually in your 5th house. And so Pluto in the 5th house can indicate, a lot of passion in relationships and a lot of transformation in your romantic partnerships. But it can also indicate that there's some sort of blockage. There's something you need to let go of in terms of the past, in terms of an ex-boyfriend or an ex-girlfriend or an ex-lover, or even a lover or a girlfriend or a boyfriend that you have right now where you're afraid of something. There's some sort of fear, there's some sort of issue, there's some sort of deep psychological blockage that is preventing you from dealing with becoming more empowered, dealing with your finances, all of these different things. So letting go of that person, letting go of that situation, or transforming that relationship or that romance so that way it actually serves you in the best possible way. Because really right now you're focusing on creating your own resources. And this full moon is providing you with an opportunity to look at the opposite end of that and look at, where your power is being taken away and where you need to become more empowered. And so, that's what's going on right now. And then, let's see. Yeah, and then also, with Neptune transiting your 7th house, and then in conjunct with this, there's some sort of deception going on, or some sort of inability to see things clearly in your long-term partnerships. So this could be, a marriage partnership, a really serious relationship. It could be in your business partnerships. It could be in your close friendships, but you have the rose-colored glasses on in some sense, and this inability to see things clearly, this wanting to see, the best in people, and wanting to sort of fall prey to this escapism through relationships, or this delusion or this illusion of what's going on. It's causing you to not be able to sort of create the wealth, create the resources, create the foundation that you need to create for yourself, because, you're confused, it's foggy, and you don't really know what to do with that energy. So there's something going on there. There's some sort of deception going on, and there's a need to really look at things pragmatically, look at things practically, especially when it comes to your resources, especially when it comes to your relationships, because it's going to be harder to do that at this time, and you could end up being deceived, and you could end up having a moment of disillusionment. So, just paying attention to that as well. And then Libra and Libra rising people. So this is actually happening in your seventh house. And so, the focus has been on you and what you want, what you need, your own self-interest, getting, your stuff together, focusing on your image, your appearance. That could have come up over the past, couple of weeks. It's really focusing on your image and who you are and what you are and how you sort of are portrayed and seen out in the world. And the first house rules the physical body, so this could have been you having like a makeover or taking care of your appearance, or changing something in that way, or focusing on what you really want and what your self-interest is, and how you want to be in the world. And so the opposite end of the spectrum, this full moon is actually in your seventh house. So now it's time to focus more on relationships. This could be the culmination point of something that was seeded in a relationship, a couple weeks ago or whenever. But this could be some sort of culmination point in relationships. There's a need to really focus on the other instead of just focusing on yourself and your own needs. So focusing on your close partnerships, focusing on your relationships, and doing this is going to shine light on you and who you are and what you are in the world. So it's going to provide that mirror that you need right now. So relationships are going to take on a greater importance. This could be a very romantic time. If you are in a long-term partnership, a serious relationship, this could be something that could ignite the fire, ignite the passions again. So this could be a reigniting of passion where you feel much more passionate, much more excited about being with your partner. This could be really great for sexual relationships, those types of things as well. This could also focus on contracts. So contracts that you have created for yourself in the past might come to a culmination point right now where you need to either sort of gather the rewards of your actions and what you've put in this partnership or this contract, or you need to let it go. So letting go of things in partnerships could be part of this as well. And so the Pluto T-square going on here is in your fourth house. So there's some sort of like fear involving your home and your family situation that's preventing you from really moving on or reaching this culmination point in your relationships. So you can't really focus on your relationships. You can't even really focus on your own self-interest and what you need and what you want in the world until you deal with this deep-seated fear, this deep-seated issue that has to do with your fourth house of the home and family, where there's something here that needs to be brought up to the surface. There's something that you're keeping hidden or that's being kept hidden from you. Maybe, someone in your family is keeping secrets from you. But there's something here where you really need to look at your fears and any psychological blockages or issues that are stemming from your home and your family life that are preventing you from fully, engaging in relationship and letting go of relationships that no longer serve you as well, because that's part of this. But a lot of this is a lot of energy about taking action in relationships. So, yeah, and this could be a really good time, again, in partnership with somebody else. It could be very romantic. You can, get that fire reignited. It can be a very sensual, very sexual time. And, it could be good for your partnerships as long as you're working through those issues and you're letting go of what needs to be released. And then Scorpio and Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio rising, this is actually happening. The full moon is happening in your sixth house. And your sixth house has to do with your day-to-day routines, your health, all those types of things. So you've had, Jupiter transiting your 12th house for a while now. You have the Sun and Mercury now in your 12th house. So there's a lot of going inward, reviewing, looking at the past, letting go of things that no longer serve you. Your dreams might be really vivid right now, really intense. You might get a lot of really deep intuition, a lot of messages, a lot of signs. And those are definitely something that you need to pay attention to. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, this moon in the sixth house is indicating your need to create better daily routines for yourself. This could be a really great time, especially in Aries, to start a new workout routine, to do something that's really intense and really physical, that you can feel passionate about, that you can feel excited about. It shines light on health problems that are not resolved, that you need to work on, and it shines light on the need to really be in the world and not just be, going inward and focusing inward. You might have felt, especially the past few days, like wanting to retreat inward and wanting to spend time alone and be in solitude, but really right now you're being pulled out of that. You're being pulled back into focusing on the practical reality, on the day-to-day issues that come up in your life. And so a lot of the blockages in this area are actually coming from, let's see here, the third house. So a lot of really intense communications coming up, a lot of really intense sort of, you could be getting like a lot of emails, a lot of phone calls, a lot of intense communication from other people. There might be people that reach out to you that are going through really deep psychological issues and transformations, that are reaching out to you that need your help. Intense situations in your community, in your neighborhood, in whatever it is. But there's some sort of fear here surrounding communication. So maybe you're not able to communicate clearly and accurately what you need in terms of your day-to-day routines, what you need from other people, what you need from the people that surround you in your life in order to feel supported and safe and secure, to really take action in the way that you need to take action, and to create the daily routines you need to create for yourself. This could involve communication and your work environment. So maybe there's some intense communication coming through with your coworkers or people that you work with, or your siblings, distant relatives, things like that. But anyway, there's some sort of issue going on in terms of communication, that maybe there's something like a secret that's going to come out, or something that's going to be revealed. It might not be something major, but it's something that really needs to be looked at and transformed and revealed. And so really focusing more on being out there in the world is going to be most important right now. And so for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising, so this full moon is actually in your 5th house. And this is actually a really nice placement. Again, the 5th and the 11th house axis. We had this with, I don't remember which sign, but I think that would have been Gemini, right? That had the 5th and the 11th house axis. Yeah. So the 5th and the 11th house. So right now the focus has been a lot on your friends, your social networks, social rewards, getting recognition for all the hard work that you've put in terms of your career life, focusing on communicating with other people, communication via the internet, connecting with others on a broader scale. That's been a lot of the focus. And, this full moon is bringing you back into looking at what you love to do, your own hobbies, your own self-interests, the things that you truly love, that you connect with on a heart level, that motivate you, to cause you to feel passionate, that cause you to feel sort of fulfilled in terms of your creative self-expression. So really looking at what you love to do, your own hobbies, your own interests. And the 5th house, it could be something very physical. So maybe you like to do things that are adventurous. You like to go rock climbing, or, do these outdoor activities. And this is a time when you can really start to sort of look at that, so integrating the two opposites, maybe doing something really active, really fun with your friends, doing something where you're joining some sort of group where you go out and do like, again, I use the example of rock climbing just because my husband's a Sagittarius rising and he likes to go rock climbing, but like joining some sort of group where you're doing physical activity together, that's really adventurous and really intense. That could be a good use of this energy as well. But there's a blockage here, and it comes from the 2nd house. So you feel like you're afraid to do the things that you love to do. You're afraid to do the things that cause you to feel joy and to feel fired up and passionate about life, because something to do with your finances, right? So maybe you feel like you don't have the money. You're afraid that if you do it, you're not going to be able to pay your bills, or you're not going to be able to create the wealth that you need to create for yourself if you're focusing on your own enjoyment. But really right now you need to be able to focus on your own enjoyment. So it's about breaking free from this blockage in the 2nd house of finances. And so also this could be debt. So if you're in debt, this could be preventing you from investing in whatever it is that you truly love to do, or from going out with your friends, because maybe you feel like you can't afford it. You need to pay off these debts, but really you need to find a way to enjoy yourself and to express yourself. This could be a really romantic and passionate time for you. This could ignite passions and relationships. It could be very fun. Very spontaneous, very romantic time if you treat it correctly, and you move through these fears and these blockages in your 2nd house of finance. All right, so Capricorn and Capricorn rising. Let's see here. Capricorn, you're going to be having this in your 4th and your 10th house. So essentially the full moon is going to be in your 4th house. So maybe you've been focusing a lot on your career, your public reputation, making new career moves, these types of things. You've been focusing on authority figures, pleasing authority figures, appeasing authority figures, creating long-term plans and goals for the future in terms of your career. And now's the time to go back and move into focusing on the home, the family, and really finding joy and enjoyment there. Maybe taking action on something in terms of your home and family situation. And, really maybe if you want to like find a new home, or you want to renovate your home, or you want to do something active in terms of your home life, or if you just want to focus more on your family and spend time at home, this would be a really great time to do that, spending time enjoying yourself at home. And the blockage that comes is through, your own who you are and what you are in the world. So it's about your ego, and it's about fears, about not being able to express yourself fully, not being able to be who you are out in the world. And that's blocking you actually from creating that career success that you want, and also from enjoying your home and your family situation, and from, feeling safe and secure when you come home at night and when you end your day. And so, you need to really look at these deep-seated issues that have to do with who you are and what you are in the world and your own self-expression. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is actually happening in your second house. So you might have been focusing a lot on, things that are really intense, things like debt, taxes, other people's money, joint finances, death, inheritance, deep psychological issues. All these things might have come up for you over the past couple of weeks. And now is a time to really focus more on your finances. This is a time when you can experience more financial success. You can create more resources for yourself. This is highlighting the need to work hard to create your own resources instead of maybe you've been focusing more on your partner's resources or gaining resources through partnership, which is great and wonderful. But now you need to start creating wealth for yourself as well and creating that safety and stability for yourself. This is also, so there's something going on in your 12th house. So there's something really deep, really dark, really mysterious that's going on below the surface in the area of the 12th house. So it could be any sort of deep karma from the past, any sort of fears left over from past situations, anything that's deep within your psyche that is really preventing you from, creating this wealth, creating these resources for yourself, and from moving into what it is that you came here to move into. And so it's really looking at like dreams, going deep, spiritual work. This is really a great time for like shamanic work and journeying and things like that, where you're really going in there, getting to the root of the issue and going deep beyond the veils, beyond this realm, because whatever's blocking you is not in this world and of this world. It's something that's going on beyond this and behind the scenes and below the surface. And so that needs to come out, be expressed and transformed in order to remove this blockage. So that's going to create a little bit more freedom, a little bit more empowerment in terms of your financial situation, your physical stability, your comfort. And then finally, we have Pisces and Pisces rising. So this is happening in your, let's see, is that 8th house? Oh, okay. So the last one I did was incorrect. Oh no, I'm going to have to go out there and cut that out somehow. So let's go back to Aquarius and Aquarius rising, wherever that was. So Aquarius and Aquarius rising, this is actually happening in your 3rd house and your 9th house. So you've probably been focusing a lot on adventure, travel, looking at different philosophies, doing things that are exciting, that help you to expand your mind, go out into the world, look at things that are very spiritual, very exciting, learning new philosophies, learning new skills, higher education, all these types of themes. And really right now, we're bringing it back to the day-to-day, the mundane, focusing on like practical skills, communication. You might have a lot of people contacting you right now, and it might be really intense in that way. The blockage here is coming from, let's see, it's still coming from your 12th house. So the blockage here is coming from an inability to, so it's coming from something below the surface. So there's something deep, psychological, something that's going on that's really intense, something that's going on that's beneath the surface. So this is really good time for psychological work, for therapy, for dream work, for like shamanic journeying, for anything that's really going to help you go in there really deep and really get to the core of the issue. Because whatever issues that are blocking you right now from communicating yourself effectively, from expanding on your beliefs, your who you are and what you are out in the world, from having those adventures, from traveling, from finding deeper meaning, anything that's blocking you from that is going to be something that's not of this world or in this world. It's going to be behind the veil and behind the surface. And it's something that really needs to be revealed and looked at and transformed in order to really move into this new energy and to reach this culmination point, this lunar cycle. And then finally, Pisces and Pisces rising, this is happening in your 2nd and your 8th house. So, you could have been focusing on, issues that strip you of your power and, issues involving empowerment, debt, joint finances, other people's money. And now's a really an important time to sort of shift the focus back onto how you create wealth for yourself, how you create comfort, how you create resources for yourself in this world. And so, The eighth house is the house of inheritance. It's the house of deep-seated psychological issues. It's the house of sort of where we give our power away from to other people and where we can become empowered ourselves. And so that's been a lot of the focus, is like, where are we giving our power away? And, what are we going to do about like debt and joint finances? Maybe you've been focusing on your partner's finances a little bit more so than your own. So this is a time for you to build resources for yourself. And there's some sort of blockage or fear involving 11th house sorts of themes. So this is your relationships with your friends, your social networks, all those types of things. So there could be a really intense situation with your friend group, with your social group, that is blocking you from really creating resources or creating wealth for yourself. Maybe you're focusing too much on your reputation with your friends, on getting social rewards or getting recognized by your friends, or maybe you're focusing too much on humanitarian efforts and you're sort of ignoring your own need to build safety and stability and resources for yourself. And so there's some sort of fear involving your friendships. Like maybe you're afraid of losing some sort of friendship through this process of assimilating the 8th and 12th house, becoming empowered and creating resources. And, whatever it is, it just needs to be worked through. It needs to be brought to the surface. It needs to be transformed. And so that is all 12 signs. So that's a general overview for the energy of this really powerful, really intense full moon in Aries. And, I hope you found this helpful. And yeah, I'll see you back here tomorrow for the daily forecast for Friday. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I hope you're really able to utilize this energy of this full moon. It's really powerful. There's a lot of energy where you can really push forward. You can take the initiative. You can, do the things that you need to do and get it done. But there is a blockage. And, we talked about that. So, just making sure that you're working through the issues that need to be worked through so you can utilize this energy to its fullest potential. Because there's a lot of intensity there. And if you channel it right, you can use it to build something, to create something, to initiate something. And, that can be very powerful. So, all right. I hope that was helpful, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.